My name's Jonathan Irwin. I suppose in Ireland I'm fairly high profile because I started a charity called the Jack and Jill Children's Foundation back in '97 because there were no services if the nightmare had happened in the maternity unit. And since my wife and I started that, we've looked after 2,500 families right across this country. So people that see me speaking about the Gardasil would actually believe that I'm not a hysteric and I'm not a scaremonger. I've worked with parents in great extremes and I've seen the way they've been treated by the health service in Ireland. So I'm fairly well attuned for what I see happening now over Gardasil.
So are you anti-vaccine?
No, I'm not anti-vaccine at all. I mean, yes, they were awful. It wasn't a vaccine, but thalidomide, no. But I am just worried in the last 20 years. Seems to be lots of problems coming up. And I'm obviously involved in the Gardasil, but I mean, it was just shocking management by our health service that has allowed this to happen.
So your daughter went for the Gardasil vaccine. What made you think, you and your wife think that the Gardasil was a good idea?
Well, it's very simple, and I think it happened. I can only speak for ourselves, but I think it happened to every parent in this country. She was vaccinated, I think, 4 years ago when she was 13, 14. And we just got a call from the school that she was at that time, either the local health department or the school, just to say that this was a national vaccination program and would we agree to it. And we put it off for a little while, but then things are going on and everybody else is there. So we said yes. But what strikes us now is that there was no effort to send, certainly us, the Merck Sharp and Dohme leaflet, which has a menu of side effects, each one of which now my daughter has. And that was never sent. I can't say it wasn't sent to all parents, but I think the health service here sent their own one out that didn't quite tell the truth. And I think that's where it all emanates from.
So she had it's a series of 3 vaccines.
The 3, I think, yeah. I know she had 2, and I'm pretty certain about the third. I think, 1 month, 2 month gap, and then 6 months, something like that. Anyway.
And when did she start to feel ill?
Well, this child was so able, diligent student anyway, and was so able athletically that she represented this country. Within 2 months, her back pains were such, her headaches, her constant state of nausea was such. Yes, she had all the things that they sort of say, oh, well, it's just local. And she had all the swellings and the pain in the injection area. But she gradually just went further and further downhill. And she could no longer really, she had no energy. So everybody says it's ME. It's absolutely not ME. I know all about ME. And she just thinks, so the last, I think, 18 months, she has been bedridden. She sleeps about 19 hours a day. She couldn't do the most important exam that children are given, called about 15 or 16. And she's coming up to the final one, but she hasn't been to school since Christmas because she is so weak. Her spirits are good and she is so uncomplaining about it. But it's the most dreadful thing to see your child lose her whole teenage life. And what I have found so unpalatable in this country is a campaign to vilify the parents and then probably also the individual child, calling them hysterics, calling them scaremongers, saying, they are going to be the result of girls dying. We don't even know how is the actual end product, is it protecting the children? Why don't we use the smear test instead? Why don't we reduce the age so that the girls can be inducted to that at 17? I cannot believe that in this tiny country there are 400, maybe 500 families so badly affected, their daughter completely wiped out, and the reaction of the health service, and in particular the minister and a lot of other politicians and professors and doctors, all saying, they're absolutely disgraceful, it is entirely their fault that the take-up rate has fallen from 87% to below 50%, and they are the outcasts and pariahs of society. What I try and say to Harris and the others, who's the minister, there is a problem. It might only be a small problem, but it is a problem. And those people want help. They don't want hatred. They want help. And that's what's falling on totally barren grounds here. And I'm very hopeful that over the next few weeks that we will actually be able to get them to come out of their little burrows. And have to say, the first question I'm going to ask them is, have they read the Merck Sharp and Dome? Merck Sharp and Dome are very open about what the problems that can happen. And just sadly, my daughter's got all of them.
Why do you think why are they not listening to the parents?
It's always a very dangerous area, isn't it? Because there's sort of conspiracy theory that they're all being paid for by one pharma group or another. And I don't think that is the reason. But I just do not understand it. I mean, it's a very strange thing in this country. We've just had another absolute fiasco in which the government has decided to build the new children's hospital in exactly the area that all the parents have rejected. But the government knows better. As I said, 2,500 families. I asked the people that putting this hospital plan together to interview just one of them, as many as they liked. They refused on 4 occasions. We're building a children's hospital that never had anything to do with children. So we've got the same conspiracy thing. Why is it being built there? How did it get there? And what's the power behind a dreadful decision? It's exactly the same as Gardasil. Exactly the same. And you write to them and you question them and you send them, especially the politicians, they don't even reply to you. You just see Harris up again at some conference, rabbiting on about how evil parents like myself and Marianne are. It's inexplicable.
So when your daughter got sick and you went to the doctors, I presume you went back and told them, look, she's sick, and you think it's the Gardasil, so you speak to them about it. What was their response?
Basically, pull yourself together. I mean, just tell your daughter to get out of bed and run around the field 5 times. I mean, there is no... one of the universities here has produced an antidote to Gardasil. I don't know how efficacious it is, but a university producing it says there's something wrong. But really and truly, within the health system here, there is absolutely no one who knows really what this problem and how to treat it. I mean, my own poor darling daughters had to go abroad for 3 weeks, where they do work on it and they do have very good results. But in Ireland, the only level is vilification of the families, and it's just that's not to do with health and care and putting your arms around people. It's very much easier maybe for Marianne and myself, because as I say, we've been exposed to the problems of families with, probably even palliative children. I've seen the way the health service treat them. And we're not frightened about talking about it. But so many, there's a rainbow of parents here, every walk of life, every social category. And they're really, really scared. They're very scared of putting their heads above the parapet because their daughter will then be attacked. And it badly needs the people to listen. These aren't parents who've got some great plot. These are parents in desperate straits, and they are completely blanked by the fact that the organizations that should help them are in fact really trying to turn them into criminals. And that's so wrong. And my wife and I can stop that. We will. I just want to get Harris and his gang out of the ground, out of their bunny holes, to come and tell us why they're behaving like this. What research have they done? Why do they refuse to order a review? Because we're aware, everybody in this country is aware that it's not just an Irish problem. Look at Denmark, look at Japan, look at Canada, look at Australia, look at Germany. By God, what do they know that the Irish do? I mean, we're like that about fluoride. Fluoride is banned in Europe, but not in Ireland. No, they won't even discuss it. So we always seem to know best about things that aren't doing us very much good.
So for those that don't really understand the extent of injury that your daughter has, can you describe what she was like before and what has happened to her physically and mentally?
Yeah, she's always been an unbelievably healthy girl. She was unbelievably good at the discipline that she loved, which was riding a pony and riding the pony for the Irish team. She absolutely loved school. I mean, she is the perfect, daughter that one would want, because everything was to be grabbed by the throat. There was a sense of enthusiasm every morning that she got up, and suddenly, wham, this comes out of nowhere. And of course, my darling wife, Marianne, is in a terrible state because she feels she made this awful mistake of signing Molly into the Gardasil program. And she'll never forgive herself for that, And as a family, we're pretty used to disasters with children. I mean, I'm like Mother Hubbard. I just have as many children as I could, but I did have 9, but only 6 are living. I lost 3 sons in 5 years, so we know about disaster. And I just see this. I hope it's not going to be nearly as serious as the 3 boys, but. I didn't need this, and Marianne certainly didn't need it. And it should never have been made into a national program without parents being talked to. I mean, I would say to anybody who's thinking of it now, one thing you must do, if you've got an asthmatic child, don't go near here. But don't have your child vaccinated unless you've got the Merck Sharp and Dohme pamphlet and you go to your GP, your doctor, and discuss it with him, with your daughter. And now I see that they're now planning to do it to boys. Just please, don't put boys through the same nightmare that all these girls are being put through. I mean, 400 or 500 girls is a lot. There's one solicitor alone who has 75 cases that he's preparing, and there's a lot of other, solicitors, attorneys around the country, in this tiny country, that are going to take these cases to the courts and take on the government, because it's done so much damage. I mean, my child, darling child, she's lost her teenage life, which is awful. Now, probably you could also have a bit of a laugh and say, well, is that a bad thing, and she doesn't come home till 3 o'clock in the morning, and things like that. So, but, no, to be serious, what a terrible thing to do. And she loves her school, and she's social, and that's all gone as well.
And she was riding for Ireland.
Yeah. And Gardasil did this to her. Oh, no, it didn't, says Harris. I mean, just crazy stuff, crazy.
So interviewing you now about your story, it's the same story that we collectively are hearing around America, England, Scotland. We hear it in Australia. It's everywhere.
It is. But, I mean, thank God you've appeared, because the media are very shy about it. And I know in Scotland, I read from the Daily Mail that the Scottish government are treating the families in exactly the same way as the Irish are. I mean, what is it about it? I don't know. We've got a problem. It might only be small, but to the people that have been attacked and their child is infected, it's a mighty problem. And it should have the privilege of having it reviewed and have people speak to them in a gentle way instead of saying they're all murderers. It's incomprehensible to me, and it's so wrong that I don't mind how far I go to bring them to atone for themselves. I mean, Harris, who I like very much, but he should hang his head in shame for the things he said about these parents. And I'm sure it's just a script he's been handed by an official. This is because his wife is a nurse. She's done hours for Jack and Jill, for my children. I think they aren't married yet, but I think they're about to get married. But, I just don't understand how he can allow himself to say the things that he said. Every society has its weaknesses. Ireland, for, I think, probably historical reasons, is not a community that is good at standing above the parapet. I found out when I was in an organisation, and I was young, and I made a point in the sort of any other questions sort of thing, and which went down well. But in the bar afterwards, 3 or 4 of the more mature members came up to me and said, "That was very good, but you do understand, we never mention it in public, we do it here." And that is very much a hangover in Irish society, that we are very slow to stand to the front. which is understandable. I mean, you know, for centuries, if they did stand up, they had reason to be fearful. Well, there is only one right thing here, isn't there? In this narrow one of Gardasil, which I know about. And that is to recognise if there is a problem. I mean, you know, Nissan withdraw cars occasionally because the clutch doesn't work. Here we've got something that definitely doesn't work. You know, does every girl easy to assimilate aluminium? I don't think so. We know there are problems. Why is nobody on the pro-Gardasil side brave enough to say, well, let's have a debate? Because you're not hysterics, you're concerned parents. I can't tell you. I just find it amazing. Hopefully, when we next talk, or you read about Ireland, we will have, you know, put the ferrets down the rabbits' holes and have them out running across the fields to tell us the truth.
Right, so how are you going to do this? And how can we help?
Well, no, what I'm going to do starting this week is I am saying to the girls who've always done my publicity for Jack and Jill that I want to lead on Gardasil. I'm quite happy and I don't mind how many people shout at me, because they can't really attack me. I'm a certain age now. I've spent 20 years changing, you know, the care for very sick babies. Nobody can really attack me. I'm just going to ask, in the way you've put it today, why can't we have a review? Why this anger that parents should be so distressed and so upset because their daughter is in the horrors?
If you'd been shown all the side effects and all the ingredients that was about to go into your daughter, would you have allowed that vaccine to happen?
You should ask Marianne, really, because she is, you know, sort of like most wonderful wives, manages of the family. And the first reaction to that question from her would, absolutely no way. If I'd known, if the school, the health centre, the health service in this country had told me of the side effects, do you think I'd let my daughter be vaccinated with Gardasil? The answer is absolutely not. You couldn't do that to a child. Now, they might say, well, can you come and see Professor so-and-so and they'll explain it to you. I mean, I have a lot of friends who are doctors and professors. And they all say, Johnny, you're absolutely mad. This is no connection. There's no proven connection between Gardasil and your child's distress. And I say to them, well, you say that, but why don't you read the manufacturer's pamphlet? It talks about all the things that has happened to my daughter. And you say there's no connection? The manufacturer says there's a connection. But you know better? Extraordinary. Well, I think the main line of attack here is all you scaremongers have, you know, dropped the rate from 87% down to below 50%. It's actually in free fall in this country now. And they're terrified that it'll get to such a low pitch that, you know, they won't be able to do the deal they're doing with Merck at the moment because there's so little uptake. And it does, and no, again, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a scientist, and I probably am influenced by word of mouth or indeed the social media and Google and Wikipedia and everything like that. So yes, there is a danger, but everything I've seen from senior administrators, particularly in Canada and Australia, is a real problem. And why other people aren't prepared? I mean, what more proof do they want? How many more dead children do they want? And I'm not talking about children who got, you know, cancer. I mean, you just can't, everything here, whether it's a sick child like my daughter, or if it is anybody who gets cancer. I mean, I had cancer 5 years ago. It's serious. But I don't believe this is the way to go about it. And I think that if they go on attacking the parents in Ireland, I think the rate will keep falling and falling and falling and falling and falling. And all they have to do is to bring the smear test available to 17-year-olds, and we're home and hosed, and no more Gardasil. There is something about, I mean, the very word vaccine, and anybody who just raises their hand about it, they're immediately treated like a rabid Jack Russell Terrier. You know, that they've lost their mind, that they're troublemakers, they're this, they're that. It's absolutely not that. We're just trying to appeal to the people who run the health service in our country, which in this case happens to be Ireland, to sit up and pay attention. And it's so suspicious that all their scripts are identical. That doesn't happen. I mean, you interview somebody in half an hour who's against Gardasil, they won't speak in the same way as me. They speak in a different way. But everybody who's pro-Gardasil has the same script. And it makes you very suspicious of what is going on. And that's what I want to find out. I mean, they can't sit in their burrows much longer. You know, especially when cases start appearing in court. Then they're really going to. I mean, I would say, and I do like Harris very much, but I think his officials, by making him speak out in this way, have really damaged him in the eyes of the public appallingly badly. And I have tried to say to him, you're making such a mistake, but he never even replies.
Are you going to court?
We'll see. We'll see. It's definitely, it's very definitely. I mean, my daughter herself, she's only 17, she said, what they've done to me, if I don't take a class action, I'm out of my mind. That's how she feels. So the chances are, yes, I hate court because it's just not the way one wants to go. This should be sorted out in a very amicable way. And I really wanted more to protect the parents to come, and indeed the parents now. I mean, if you're a member of Regret, you're immediately a target for Harris and his team, and that's so wrong. These mothers only came together. The mutual bond was such distress at what was being done to their daughters. Why didn't they send the Merck sharp and down leaflet to every single potential parent? I don't know. They've never answered any question about anything to do with our health service in Ireland, the HSE. It's a completely broken down, dysfunctional organisation in whether it's hospital waiting lists, whether it's paediatric care. It's really, really worrying because it's very well funded. But the administration, the people on the front line, some of them are absolutely excellent. The nurses that work with my nurses, superb. But the administration is just one great sort of polyglot of untrained, people trained who've never been trained into management. And one department never knows what the other department's doing. It is awful. I have dealt with them for 20 years. People say to me, Johnny Irwin, what do you think about it? Did you enjoy your years with Jack and Jill? And I say, my God, 20 fantastic years, extraordinary people. Only nightmare is the HSE. I mean, 60% of my diary is not in fundraising and this and that. It is being an advocate to get a family of mine the equipment for their child, the housing grants, the change the tax on the car, everything. The whole attitude of the HSE is how to keep you off the trolley bus, not how to embrace you. And that's what I've been fighting for 20 years. And to me, I mean, my previous career was 35 years in the horse racing industry. And I'm sort of inclined to say to people, why is it that a broken down old horse dealer is looking after all these babies? Why? And if this Gardasil thing really takes off, why again is that nightmare broken down horse dealer now fighting for everybody who's been infected by Gardasil? It's a funny old thing. It's so puzzling because if you think about in business, all that stuff about good governance and this and that, if you think about health and safety, if you think about protection against bad food in restaurants and everything like that, all trying to make life sort of more, in a way, grey or uniform. But here we are with a situation that is a problem around the world. And we know better here in Ireland. And our way of knowing better is what you do is you attack and attack and attack. And I think the reason they are attacking is to frighten parents who've not given the vaccine into saying, oh my God, we'll have to do this, or we'll get classified as murderers too. It's something like that. It's obviously, it's the paucity and the appalling background to the program that they're running is shown surely by the fall from 87% down to below 50%. I mean, the campaign, which revolves around hating you, is just the fifth form at a bad school wouldn't come up with such a stupid idea. And yet they're determined to go on doing that. They've never varied. It's always been this. The previous minister, this minister. And unless some people like myself and others just stand up and say, look, we're not fruitcakes. We've got a very sick daughter. And there's a very, very fair chance, as the document says, that these are the side effects. And my daughter, funnily enough, has every single thing on that menu. Tell me why there isn't a problem. And they won't be able to. They won't be able to. And I don't understand why my good friends doctors immediately say, no, this is all hysteria, Jonathan, don't get involved in it. It's bizarre. It's sort of like mass brainwashing. Maybe in the fluoride, there is that element that brainwashes all the citizens of Ireland to take up, I only want actually my chicken to have black eggs. And you could get crazy things, like everybody telling us Gardasil isn't a problem. Well, I'd be very disappointed if when we next meet, if we do meet again, the end of the summer, that Harris et al. Will have changed their tune. That's what I'm going to fight to do. I'm just going to fight as an intellectual. But why, Simon? Why this? Who is actually giving you these documents you go to conferences with? You're not writing them yourself because you couldn't. Somebody's handing this. Remember the medical cards nearly brought your government down, Simon. Same people supplying the front bench with rubbish about medical cards and dying children.
Are you afraid of Merck and the power of Merck?
No, I mean, I've read enough novels and thrillers, whether it's tobacco or whether it's the pharma companies. No, I mean, there are horrifying stories about 4 doctors who suddenly died. But no, I think that's going too far. I'm not really, I mean, pharmaceutical companies are there to make a great deal of money, but they also lose a great deal of money. But what they are trying to do all the time is to find some better treatment for something, whether it's cancer or whether it's what's going to take over from antibiotics. There's a very good side to them. And interestingly, yesterday, as a very grumpy old man, I love Twitter. I don't understand the rest of it, but Twitter, it's wonderful. You can really get into a good mood by the time you get out of bed. But yesterday I just said, wouldn't it be good if we had a register in Ireland of every single grant that pharmaceutical companies give to anybody or board or organisation in Ireland, so we could actually form an opinion that is well balanced. And within 10 minutes, Merck were back with a listing of all their donations in Ireland. So, it's very easy to attack Merck. That's not my target here. The target is the in-between, the health services, and I want the ambulances out for all these children. I want them out basically this afternoon, ding dong bell, let's go and rescue another child, let's stop killing them,
And I've always said, to be fair to Merck, they have listed all the side effects in the insert of that
Absolutely.
vaccine. It's the GP that gives them to our children that really should be reading that and understanding what he's putting into our
Should be our
children.
Minister of Health. Why did the HSE, his health service, not send these to every parent? We didn't get one till we realised Molly was getting very sick. And then we got one from Merck, and oh my God, you asked me earlier on, would we have signed up? Absolutely no way. But the buffer between Merck and our children is our health service, and they have completely let down this generation of children. Completely let them down. We don't actually know if the vaccine is actually powerful enough to stop cervical cancer. You really don't know, and there's really, I suppose, no way of proving it.
Our whistleblower from Merck told us that they don't know whether they're actually giving cancer or stopping cancer, and only time will tell.
Yeah. There's a girl on this YouTube program, I think she's Australian, and she worked like he did in the development, because it was developed in Australia, and she says very much the same thing. In fact, what it's described as is useless, very expensive, and with very serious side effects. That's where I am at the moment, And I'd love Harris and his team to tell us where we're wrong. Is Merck wrong? And why didn't you let every parent in this country know?